You've talked about schools, but even if you just walk
Very
out,
complicated agendas.
Does it actually mean anything at all?
Okay, this is right or wrong, but it doesn't actually follow it.
We've been in a recession for a few years now.
Have any of you been impacted?
real stories,
We learn from one another.
real issues. Is Islam a threat? Real views. This is Real Talk.
Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Peace and blessings of Allah be upon you all. You are welcome to Real Talk Africa, a space where truth meets reflection and where we take on real issues that are reshaping our communities across the continent. And more importantly, as Muslims, in real time with real voices. Today's conversation is one that strikes at the very core of our communities. It is raw, it is uncomfortable, but it is real. We are talking about drugs and addiction, a growing youth problem. Drugs are no longer just an issue for the streets. They have crept into our schools, homes, and even the quiet corners of our mosques. And they are not sparing anyone, boys or girls, religious or not. What is foiling this crisis? What emotional, social, or spiritual emptiness are these substances feeling? And most importantly, how can we, as a society, as believers, and as human beings, respond with both wisdom and compassion? Joining me to unpack this are some of the finest minds and hearts committed to solving this crisis. First here in the studio, we have Lieutenant Dr. Ibrahim Shuaib, a seasoned medical doctor with the Nigerian Army. He holds a master's in public health and is currently pursuing a master's in science in clinical psychology. He is also a specialist in environmental science and resource management with an interest in toxicology, bringing a rare combination of medical, psychological, and environmental expertise to join in this conversation. Dr. Ibrahim Shuaib, Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
You're welcome to the program.
Thank you. It's nice to be here.
Yeah. Joining us virtually, we have Dr. Khadija Yakin Abdul-Razak, a medical doctor with the Lagos State Primary Healthcare Board. She's also the founder of Emerald Initiative for Humanity, a foundation committed to public health education, medical outreach, and service to humanity. Dr. Khadija, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
You're welcome to the show. And lastly, in the studio, we have Maulvi Abdul Khalik Yusuf. Maulvi Abdul Khalik Yusuf is a respected missionary of the Ahmadiyya Muslim Jamaat of Nigeria and the head of the translation department at Muslim Television Ahmadiyya Nigeria studio. He brings a deep faith perspective and a media-savvy understanding of the challenges facing our youth today. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
You're welcome to the program.
Thank you so much.
And of course, I am not alone. We are blessed to be joined by a studio audience filled with passionate individuals, all gathered here to listen, engage, and share in this critical conversation. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, audience.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Thank you very much for joining us. But before we begin the conversation, let's take a pause from the streets. We asked everyday Nigerians to share their thoughts on drug abuse and its growing impact. Let's hear what they had to say.
When it comes to drug, I actually strongly believe that it is not a male or female type of thing. Like, it cuts across. Like, first, women engage in drugs. That's very, very true. And I don't see a normal reason why an individual should choose to go into drugs. But most people have their own various reasons.
The reason for this could be, like, based on my own opinion, could be it could be a form of influence, probably from their friends or like their age mates, or from social media. Yeah, social media could be a form of influence for the increase in drug abuse.
But then, me, I'll say it feels void, you get. Like most of us, tó bá fẹ́ ronú, wákọ̀rá gbìlúra, just everything just moving in slow motion. But then, what I used to say, all those things that I will take, you get, is needed for the body. But then, excess in yellow man, they can be addict.
drugs should not fill any void in youth. It is due to their own selfish interest that makes them feel like it actually feels an interest in them. We should not do drugs for any reason at all because it's not good.
As a boy from the street, as everything's going, you wake up in the morning, everything just low account, anything. As a bobo, what will you expect me to do? So now that's where drugs now come in. But there are different type of drugs. I'm not saying drugs in only lofa, I think be lofa. Just tell me that, just say kana, you get.
The youths of nowadays, though not every one of us, but to those that take it, they definitely believe it does them good. It fills a void in them. But then to me, someone not in that particular set, I believe it's not beneficial.
Drug addict. It depends on the stage of the person, but my own personality, it can be welcome if the person is ready to like listen and okay, like he's ready to change himself, like be able to listen and ready to change, something like that.
No. I can't live comfortable with drug addicts. Drug addicts is a bad thing now. See, yes, there are different things. Take drugs, but don't be an addict. That's just it. I mean, I can't live comfortable with a drug addict. It's bad. It's bad. Addict is not a good thing.
Oh, definitely not. Living comfortably with a drug addict, no. There's this adage of proverb that says, show me your friend and I'll tell you who you are. Once you live with a drug addict, I'll make an example of what Yoruba call Igbo. Once they are smoking that Igbo, they would puff out. Then you that is near them would be the one to inhale the very bad air. It is equivalent to you also smoking it. Then I would never risk my health and live with a drug addict.
Being a drug addict is not something that someone should be proud of, and because there are effects for it. So staying with such person is not really comfortable. I can't.
I will not say you should drive them away, and I'll not say you should also bring them to close. What you can do for them is maybe like set up seminars or classes, letting them know that what they are doing is harmful to their health and to their future. Because on the long run, no, drug abuse is going to affect you both mentally, physically, psychologically, and different ways. So drug abuse is bad. You should not push them away. I should not keep them too close. There's a statement that says, keep your enemies close, but not too close.
Welcome back, viewers. We've just listened to what Nigerians on the street had to say about drug abuse and addiction. I'll be starting with Dr. Shuaib. From your clinical experience, what are the most common drugs that people usually abuse? And, what patterns do you see in how addiction starts?
All right, thank you very much for this. To start with, we want to first know what drug abuse is. So basically, when we say you are abusing a drug or a substance, is that you are using these drugs beyond prescriptions. So when we give you a medication, we're expecting you to use it for a particular period of time, for a particular condition. And when that has elapsed that period, you're expected to go back to your physician and you are being given another medication, or probably it is stopped or it is being changed. So in most cases, we also have drugs that are being used to treat some kind of ailment. So when they are used out of prescription, so it is tend to abuse. It's not only drugs or probably maybe like painkillers and other drugs that are being abused. We also have antibiotics that are being abused, and also have other medications that are being abused too. Like you see somebody goes to the hospital and they give them a particular drug, and because it has been able to alleviate them from that pain for that period, so when next they do the same thing, like they keep using that drug, so it turns to an abuse. So it's not only probably drugs, maybe drugs that that helps to enhance or aid people's reasoning or activity that are being abused. So there are different forms of addiction. But in this particular context, we are talking about drugs of addiction, which mostly we talk about things that used to enhance people. So the most commonly abused substance presently now is cannabis, also known as marijuana, or it's also known as Igbo. Then we also have alcohol, we have your nicotine. People using vape, they call it e-cigarettes, that you are using e-cigarettes and you are not abusing the drug or so. Then you have things like your tramadol, you have your benzodiazepines like diazepam and all that, just to alleviate pain. So the pattern we have seen so far is like, so it starts like this. We have peer pressure. People probably in school, they see their friends doing it and they act in a particular way or pattern. So they want to test it and see how it looks like, and they go into it and it's difficult to come out. The other most important way now that most people are, you hear somebody saying it's called gateway drugs. There are some drugs we call gateway drugs. Things like cigarettes, they are gateway drugs. Things like your vape, which is an electric cigarette, is a gateway drug. Gateway drugs are drugs that they are not drugs of addiction. They don't usually have much effect on you, but there are things that open way for other things to come in. You hear someone say that, oh, I only take cigarettes and I don't take marijuana. Meanwhile, a cigarette is a gateway drug that can aid you to start, taking marijuana. When you start taking cigarettes, over time, you will now start taking marijuana. From there, you start going to other things. They will start taking other drugs. Even though someone taking maybe a painkiller, like paracetamol. Oh, when I take Panadol, it helps me to feel better. Then from there, if you say, oh, paracetamol is no more effective for me, it goes to tramadol. Then they start going to diazepam and all that just to alleviate their pains. Again, it's also like a kind of segregation among the society. You feel that some people feel if you don't drink or smoke, you don't belong to this particular group of people. So they also want to belong. Like now, I see that, oh, these my guys, all of them, they are doing well, they are doing fine. In order for me to belong with them, you have to do what they are doing. That's what some people do. So aside from the peer pressure, the gateway drugs, we also have probably belonging. Then again, some people that are actually into pain or trauma, and they feel that they don't have anyone to talk to. So they use these drugs in order to be able to mask the effect of whatever pain that they are going through. Other things, again, are societal problems, like maybe people say, oh, you're staying in Mushin. Mushin is an Igbo-born area. For you to be able to blend and prove that you're a right Mushin boy, you have to start doing that too. And also, some people use it probably based on social media, which is very important. Some musicians they are like your role models, and you want to be like them. You are looking up to them, and you see some of the things they do in their music videos or in their movies. So you also want to do it because you have already made these people your role models. So these are the patterns we have seen that tends to get people addicted to drugs or go into abuse of drugs.
Yeah, thank you very much, Lieutenant Dr. Ibrahim. You mentioned said some of the reasons why people go into drugs is to alleviate pain. So, but aside alleviation of pain, what other social or psychological voids do you think that these drugs are filling?
Yes, for some persons, let's say someone claims to be an introvert. They don't like to go out. They don't want to talk to people. At the same time, they want to be high. They want to like party high on their own. So these drugs forms like kind of a companion for them. Like this is what they can always run to get high and do some things. And for some persons, I know of people that if they want to write exams or they want to carry out some particular procedures, they need to be at some particular level.
Are you saying that medical doctors also take?
Well, it depends. So some persons that's a personality to some persons. But yeah, there are people that take drugs. And drug is not just probably taking marijuana or other drugs. Some people take alcohol just to clear road. They'll say, I want my eyes to be clear. And they'll take it for their eyes to clear. It also starts...
Sorry, doctor. It's very interesting. You mentioned that for their eyes to be clear. Can you please clarify? Are you saying that before they take that drugs, that they are blind?
So now, for example, back then when I was in school, we had people that if you give them exams or ask them questions on normal level, they will not be able to do it. So they need something to enhance them in order to do better. So some of them started taking things like marijuana to make them better, like they want to feel good, they want to feel better. And some of them, they will start taking, other substances that they feel that without this, they cannot do better, which is true. And from then, it starts to become addictive to them. There are some persons that if, like when I was in school, what we do, yes. For me, for example, when we were in school then, I was addicted to caffeine. I was highly addicted. There was even during exam times, I don't sleep because I have to pass my exams now, and I do crash reading. So what I do is that sometimes I'll take black coffee on its own. I just swallow it. So over time, I now saw that I was getting addicted to black coffee. I had to switch it to take an energy drink. Energy drink is not alcoholic, but it also has a high level of caffeine that stops me from sleeping. So if I know that I don't want to sleep, I will take it. But it's not a personal thing for me to now know that, oh, this thing is becoming too much for me. I have to stop it because there are also some health effects associated with taking too much of caffeine.
So very quickly, Dr. Shuaib, before we go to Dr. Khadija, you mentioned something earlier on that they take, probably when they want to do exam, they take this drug to enhance, their ability. But do you think that this drug actually enhance their thinking?
So it's a two-way thing. You know, what you believe in works for you. That's just the basic truth. So as a doctor, even when I prescribe a medication for you, I say, oh, take this medication, it's going to solve this. If you don't believe that medication will work, it will not work, actually. So it's a thing of belief. They have already tied their ability to that particular substance.
Yeah.
So if they don't use it, they feel they cannot do better.
Exactly.
Even though in war front, for example, I have some soldiers that in the war front, if they don't take substances, they will not be active. They will not be able to be very hyper. In fact, they can be scared. And sometimes they take these drugs in order to mask that fear that is in them. You know, when you are high on something, you feel like, oh, everybody you see is like an ant in your presence. So it makes you to act very well. So most times, so it depends on belief. So if you believe it works for you, there's definitely to do.
Yeah, thank you very much, Dr. Ibrahim. So you've made a clarification for us that most of the time people only believe, but it's not actually that drug is what is solving their problem, but they believe in it. So which is more like a psychological
Exactly,
issue.
yeah.
Yeah, thank you very much. Dr. Khadija, having discovered that lots of young women having discovered that a lot of young women now engage in drugs too, are there any unique challenges that young women face when it comes to drug addiction in terms of causes or societal response?
All right, thank you for the question. So drug use, abuse, and eventually addiction, it's a primary health concern, it's a public health concern that we tend to see the increase in incidence and prevalence of people that use or abuse drugs or eventually become addicted to it, not just in underdeveloped society, but in developed societies too. So usually we tend to see the more higher percentage of male having this problem. But in recent time, we are beginning to notice increase in prevalence of female that also struggle with drug use, abuse, and addiction over the years. So that leads us to be concerned about what are the factors or the challenges that women could be facing that could be a cause to lead to drug use or eventually the addiction that it might develop from it. So I'll say these challenges, they mainly stem from psychological factors to societal pressure, and at times it could be systemic inequalities that women face that could lead them to use of psychoactive substances or drug of abuse. So mainly to start with, the challenges I want to discuss is number one is mental health struggle. Women are twice likely to develop depression and anxiety due to physical and psychological challenges that we face. We are twice likely to develop depression and anxiety than male. Hence, it could, for someone that doesn't have good health-seeking ability, it could push her to take drugs of abuse and eventually become addicted to it. Also, women that are exposed to trauma such as sexual abuse, domestic violence, or other gender-based violences, if not properly, if there is no proper intervention that is put in place, she might eventually develop what we call post-traumatic stress syndrome, which is like an emotional disorder that could push her into seeking help from the wrong source that could lead to taking substance to make her feel better about her emotional challenges or to deal with the post-traumatic stress syndrome that I talked about earlier. Also, for a society that normalizes consumption of psychoactive substances like alcohol, cigarettes, smoking, there is a high chance that the women in such society too would want to adopt such behavior. Also, for a woman that has a romantic partner that takes any of these substances that was previously mentioned by Dr. Shoaib, there is a fast chance that she would also want to pick up some of these to pick up the use of some of these psychoactive substances too. Also, if she's facing some form of financial instability, it could lead to stress-related drug use. And for women, over the course of a woman's life, especially in a child reproductive age, there are some stages in our life that are mostly physiological. At times, it could be pathological, from menstrual cycle. At times, you might have dysmenorrhea, which is painful menstruation. She could develop endometriosis or adenomyelitis. She could develop polycystic ovarian syndrome. From childbirth, she could develop postpartum psychosis or postpartum depression. All these things that are mentioned are things that are related to the physiological function of a woman. At times, it could be physiological, that is, it could be normal. At times, it could be pathological. But all these things, every woman would have to tackle either one or more of all these challenges through our child reproductive age. So these are situations that could be associated with severe pains. So in some cases, medical professional would want to prescribe analgesics at times, very strong analgesic at times. So each woman would be exposed to such analgesic either once or twice in their life, and someone that is not emotionally stable might be pushed to abuse such medications such as opioids, benzodiazepams, pentazocines.
Thank you very much, Dr. Khadija, for that insight. Now, Missionary Abdul Khalik, a lot of young people argue that smoking is not haram. Maybe makruh, but not haram. It is not obviously stated clearly that we should not smoke. So, what do you have to say about that?
Firstly, being a bit sarcastic, I like to say that why don't they also get married to animals? Because it's not categorically stated in the Holy Quran that do not marry animals.
But you know that some people can. I mean, some people had relationship with animals too,
I mean, you are talking about religious people making these excuses.
Okay,
I mean, religious people do not.
Okay, yeah.
And logically, no, I mean, you wouldn't do that.
Yeah.
But what I mean is, if it is a matter of what is stated in the Quran, okay, it is written, this is haram, this is not haram, then we'll start looking for, okay, whatever is not written in the Quran, we can
start with it.
Then at that point in time, people, I mean, it will be free for people to also drink poison directly, because it's not written in the Holy Quran that do not drink poison. The reality we need to face is the whole Quran is a divine law, and that's the last divine law from Allah the Almighty.
Yeah.
And the very first divine law came to Prophet Adam alayhi salatu wasalam. Now, between Prophet Adam and the Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, there was a span of around 4,000 years. So it's very much easy for God Almighty to have revealed the whole Quran from the time of Adam. But Allah the Almighty waited for that lengthy period of time to ensure that human psyche develops to a point where we can actually understand divine principles, where we will not need to be informed of each and everything one after the other before we even understand them, because we are already wise enough. So directly, Allah the Almighty says in the Holy Quran, فَأَلَهَمَهَا فُجُورَهَا وَتَقْوَاهَا, that is, even within your own conscience, you have that innate nature, you have that psyche to know this thing is right, this thing is wrong. And when it is wrong, just keep away from it. I mean, that's the very first principle we need to understand. The second thing is, we are talking about smoking.
Yeah.
Now, Dr. Saib had mentioned something related to nicotine the other time. And I think, to the best of my knowledge, I stand to be corrected. Each and every tobacco content contains nicotine. And that is what actually made it addictive.
Yeah.
And by that, it is also stated that a large content of nicotine can be intoxicating. So if that is the case, then the rule of Islam is ma askara kathiruhu faqaliluhu haram. That whenever there is any substance that the larger content can intoxicate, then even the lower content of it is forbidden. So how can you now say that, okay, it is not explicitly stated? So the Quran will definitely not be able to list each and every item in this word to start saying that this is forbidden, this is forbidden, this is forbidden. No, the Quran is there to give a principle. And when the principle is given, whatever that principle cuts across must be understood and respected in that manner.
Mofisa, there are Islamic scholars, because this is real talk and we need to talk about the real issues. There are some Islamic scholars that also smokes, and they have understanding about what you just mentioned now. You know, he mentioned about cannabis, which is obviously haram, but cigarettes, in some climates, people smoke because they would say, because the weather is too cold, they need to smoke to make. So in those, I mean, using those two separate reasons, is it still allowed? Islamic scholars who knows all these things that is mentioned, and they will still go ahead and smoke. And people would say, some people would say, oh, the weather is so cold, it is not haram, I can still smoke. So if you are in a situation whereby the weather is so cold and just a small percentage, is this allowed?
Okay, you've mentioned two things and I would like to separate them.
All right.
The very first aspect is when you say Islamic scholar.
Yeah.
Because when you say Islamic scholar, it means to the minds of Muslims, probably whatever is approved by the scholars, they can go by it.
Absolutely.
So let's understand this, that there is a scholarly level when it comes to academic understanding. The person can academically be a scholar, but not a scholar in terms of the spiritual content of it. And you are going to understand it by, you get to a university, I mean, there are professors, those who misbehave among them, right?
Yeah.
But yet, you cannot snatch away the certificate of being a professor from them.
Absolutely.
They are still professors.
Absolutely.
So you are not going to follow that lead when it comes to moral rectitude of an individual.
Yeah.
On the other side, you look into, I mean, you look to emulate those who are virtuous among them when it comes to a moral standard. Therefore, we can easily solve this. The Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, did he smoke?
No.
No. The companion, did they smoke? No. The revered saints in Islam, do we have any one of them that is unanimously agreed upon that this is a saint in Islam that was smoking? No. The Promised Messiah and Mahdi alayhi salatu wasalam, did they smoke? No. The Khulafa, did they smoke? No. So if these paragons are considered that these people do not, then if you are to call yourself a scholar on a spiritual perspective, you have to be given the description of these people. And if your description does not match these people, then you are not even a scholar on a spiritual perspective. Probably you studied this book and that book. Even people that are not Muslims, they study Islam in depth. They study Arabic in depth, such that they can actually give you any rulings when it comes to Islam. And people even take them as reference point when it comes to Islam. They quote them again and again because of their research work. Yes, they are scholars, but when it comes to the spiritual terms, when it comes to the religious terms, you do not consider them to be scholars. So being a Muslim and you do not follow this path of righteousness, this level of spirituality, then the idea of being a scholar doesn't come in that aspect. It only comes in academic level. The second thing you've mentioned is the issue of being in a very cold region, this and that. The straightforward answer is, it's because the content you're talking about is available. If it's not available, you obviously will not die. You get any other solution to it. So why don't you go for the solution that is appropriate? So just to get back to where the question starts, the whole Quran has given us a rule. I mean, many rules that deals with this. For example, the Holy Quran says, "Kulu mimma fil ardi halalan tayyiba." What you are going to consume must be halal. That's one aspect. That's where we talk of halal and haram. What's permissible and what is explicitly forbidden. But the other rule that comes with it is tayyiba. What is deemed fit? What is deemed appropriate for your health? So if the medical practitioners have told you that this thing, it has contents that are not good for your health, then it means it is outrightly forbidden. So luckily, the Prophet ﷺ also answered this question saying that, had it been that, I mean, it was in relation to questions related to smoking, tobacco, and other things, that is, including hookah, that had it been that this particular content was existing in the time of the Holy Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, it would definitely have called it haram.
Thank you very much, Movisab. Let me move on to Dr. Shuaib. How does drug addiction among youths affect family structures, relationships, and the emotional well-being of parent or guardians?
Okay, yeah. So
from your personal relationship with some of your clients.
So basically, I'll just cite examples because this has a lot of psychosocial, economic, financial, spiritual, and moral effects on families, individuals, and also their associates, even though in their workplaces. So for example, you have somebody that is an addict in the house, maybe he takes cocaine in the house. So let's take it step by step. Now, when he does not have access to this cocaine, he makes sure that he gets every means to have that cocaine available. And that's why they go on to probably begging for money amongst family and friends, taking loans. Then they will start acting irrationally, things that they don't do before. They can even steal because they need this thing in order to survive. Now, this same person goes to a workplace, an office. if he does not have access to that substance, he starts to act irrationally because if he does not get that substance, the body does not feel okay. So they will start working in a way. Then you start seeing some bosses at work. You just start seeing them, maybe they just come in one morning and they are very cranky. So it also affects their work relationship. Even though there are colleagues around them too, they feel kind of this withdrawal around their colleagues. So it's a societal, family, and a public health issue that needs to be looked into, like broadly. Because you even see them, probably their spirituality tends to drop. You now see them start missing their missing attendance in the mosque or places of worship. And this is something that most times, when we don't really look deep into it, we don't really know what is happening, because these things are usually done hidden. It's not something that they want to. Nobody will come outside now and tell you that, yes, I'm an addict. No. They don't want to because of the stigma. Listen to what those guys were saying the other time when they were saying, oh, I cannot stay with an addict. So if you cannot stay with an addict, who is going to help the addict? Because it's not a health professional thing. Business alone, and it's not religious homes business alone. It's something that has to do with everyone getting involved, because one way or the other, this thing still gets to us. Somebody is smoking marijuana, is a primary smoker. You are staying near him, you are a secondary smoker. So that means you are inhaling the same content. In fact, you are inhaling a raw content than that person. So it's better that we find a way to reduce the stigma on people that are addicts, so that we can be able to help them.
Yes, Dr. Shuaib, thank you very much for that. I'm still coming back to you on the solution to this cankerworm that is affecting the society. But right before we get to that, I want to get to Dr. Khadija. So, Dr. Khadija, I know you mentioned the other time so many different issues affecting drug addicts. You've talked about, especially relating to women, emotional, mental health issues. But is this addiction more of a personal feeling or a systemic failure of society, schools, and leadership? Where should the blame and responsibility be?
All right. So thank you for that question. The blame for an individual to be healthy physically, psychologically, emotionally, there are quite a lot of factors that have to play. As there are responsibilities the individual needs to put in place, the immediate society, the family, the community at large, and then the system. So if any of these, if any of the factors I mentioned is at fault, it's going to have a rebound effect on the individual. So we can't really blame only one factor to cause such problem in the society. But I would want to say that I would put large percentage of the blame on systemic failure, because looking at this issue, we would want to go deep into the possible cause and not just address it on just a symptomatic management. We go into the cause, what could have been the possible cause, and why do we have quite a large number of our youth going into these habits. Number one, I would want to talk about increase in poverty rates and unemployment. For youth in a community, if they lack access to opportunities to provide better life for themselves, to help them with their education, entrepreneurial skills, and all, they will tend to develop something we call emotional stress. And if they develop emotional stress, and then the environment is not encouraging enough, they probably want to go into something to give them a temporary relief. And things that could give them temporary relief, use of psychoactive substance is on top of the chain. So hence, high poverty rates and unemployment in the society that is caused by systemic failure is one of the main causes that lead youth into use of psychoactive substance. Also, poor education and awareness on the temporary effects and then the long-term complications that users can develop from this substance. There are quite a number of people that are introduced to the use of psychoactive substance without having the full grasp of the possible complication that they can develop from using this substance. So I feel if there is proper public health education, starting from primary to secondary school students, before they are exposed into the society, if they are well educated on the possible complications and other healthy methods that they can manage their emotional stress, if all these things are put in place by the system, it would also reduce the incidence of drug use, abuse, and eventually addiction. Also, failed leadership plays a large role. on the prevalence of this disorder. Failed leadership include weak policies that are being made only to tackle the temporary solution. At times, even if these policies are being made to tackle drug use, they are not, they only tend to tackle temporary solutions. They don't go deep into knowing why these things happen and then trying to solve the main problem of this. And then that would reduce the prevalence of these diseases, of this disorder.
Yeah.
Also, our
Dr.
corrupt...
Dr. Khadija, thank you very much. I'm still coming back to you. I just want to quickly get to Maulvi Abdulkhalik's opinion about, you know, as a Muslim scholar now, there are, you know, there is a growing perception that when Muslim youth falls into drugs, they face judgment, not help, when they come to, you know, to place of worship like this. So, is the Muslim community supposed to be welcoming struggling youth, or they are supposed to see them as sinners?
Well, I will say directly that the stigma is real wherever you are. And we also need to understand that we are always affected by our sociological environment as much as we are affected by our ecological environment. Therefore, it is not a religious rule that we are to stigmatize people in that particular situation. It is just our societal value that turn into that level. I mean, it's not supposed to be. For example, even in the schools, when you see that a student is not well behaved, he misbehaves, and the teacher doesn't like that particular student, he comes like this and that, you actually see the effects on his relationship with others, with other classmates. They try to keep away one way or the other. They even see them that, oh, these are the vagabonds in the school. So it's something that relates to our social understanding. Now, when it comes to religious perspective, we've already learned of the values of religion, that the religion itself comes to the world in order to reform people. If the goal of religion is to stigmatize people, then it won't even correct anything. Therefore, we need to understand that if such an effect is felt within a religious environment, we should see it as a social problem that needs to be addressed for that particular religious environment as well. So in that case, it's like someone going to a particular hospital for treatment, and unfortunately, he doesn't get his treatment. He doesn't get the desired treatment over there. What does he do? He moves on to another hospital. Yeah. He's not 100% sure that when he gets to the next one, he will be treated better. I mean, he will get healthy, but at least he knows that there is a certain chance that probably these people will understand what I'm facing and they will care it better. So in that particular situation, when anyone suffering from this particular state and wants to correct himself, feels that, okay, he gets to a religious environment, he gets to the mosque, for example, and they are not treating him in the right way, they do not understand the pain he's going through, he can just move to another mosque and probably he will get it better. We saw this particular psychological teaching from the Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam in relation to a particular criminal, which he gave us the example of. The person was known to be a murderer, and it is stated that the person has killed a large number of people, around 99. He has killed 99, and he went to a particular religious scholar. He told him, see, this is my crime, and now I want to repent. Will I get acceptance in the sight of God? That scholar felt, you, after all this crime, no, you will never get. What did he do? He killed the person immediately, making 100. But yet, because the intention is there that now I need to reform myself, I need to get rid from this and that, he did not stop there. He moved to the next person, and luckily, that person has a better understanding. And when he got there, the person understood that the environment which you belong, and you've already lived up to this extent, if you remain there, you will continue to be a criminal. It's better you change your environment. So he advised him to go to another location where he could be reformed. Even though he didn't reach there, he was forgiven. So this is the situation that when one requires such a particular help and he doesn't get it in a particular place, it doesn't need to be despair of it. He should just move forward, probably at another location. There will be a help that will be given. And most importantly, they will try to identify the trigger, whatever causes him to have that type of lifestyle, this and that, and they will give a better advice. And obviously, the best advice that has been given in the Holy Quran is Kunu ma'a sadiqin, that is, be among the righteous ones. We've seen it practically worked out many times, so we are very sure of it.
Thank you very much. You've just enlightened us that even when the addict move to, when addicts go to mosques and they don't see a solution in particular mosque, they should move to another mosque to seek for help. But I also wanted to add that mosques too should, do a lot more of help, like do a, what is it called? Reach out, medical reach out to these people also, because there is a high level of stigmatization in relation to this issue that we're discussing. Moving to Dr. Khadija, talking about stigmatization. You would recall in the beginning when we are speaking with people on the street, Nigerians on the street, a lot of them, in fact, none of the people we spoke to are ready to live with drug addicts. There's a huge stigmatization going on in that space. And people are shameful to come out and even though in their mind, just like what Morvi said, they really feel they needed help, but they are shameful to come out to request for that help. So how can we create a safe, stigma-free space for them while ensuring that they do not become a menace to our communities?
All right, thank you for the question.
Yeah.
So to create a safe space for drug addicts that are trying to quit and trying to make good of themselves, it's a joint effort. It's a joint effort that involves the individual is ourselves, that is being willing to stop the acts totally. Also for the immediate environment to provide support, and then also the system to also put some things in place. So the first thing I would want to suggest is something we call the awareness program.
Yeah. So
the awareness program is meant for the public entirely to cause people attention onto the growing needs or rehabilitation centers for drug addicts. That is, make the public know that people suffering from this thing, they need help.
Yeah.
And they stigmatizing them or trying to isolate them is not going to help them, and it's not going to help the public in general. Hence, we need to make the public aware of this and stop stigmatizing them and be able to provide help as much as possible in any situation we find ourselves. Also, the government could provide youth-friendly rehabilitation centers that would be set up in a way that it's youth-friendly. It's not like a prison that would help them willingly to go in to submit themselves to go through the rehabilitation program. Also, there could be a community-based support group whereby addicts that are recovering, former addicts that are recovering, that share similar experience can come together, discuss, share their experience. If you see someone else that's also going through what you are going through, and they'll be able to provide strength for themselves. And also you could have like a reintegration program into the society. So for someone that has been a drug addict for a long period of time, there's a possibility of him suffering from social isolation. Quite a number of people, family, friends, religious brothers and sisters might not want to associate with such person.
Yeah.
So we would want to organize something we call a reintegration program, whereby we provide social rehabilitation, vocational training to help them adapt gradually back into the society without feeling like an outcast. Yeah. And also after the rehabilitation program, we should put in something we call like a follow-up care. That is, you don't just rehabilitate them and then push them back into the society where they can still have access to those psychoactive substances that they are formerly being used to. So we do like a follow-up care where you provide like mentors to them or like a support group, as I said earlier, to be sure that they are not relapsing over time. And also community monitoring from immediate family to imams to pastors to neighbors, be able to mentor them to be sure that they are not relapsing, and anything that could cause them to relapse, to try as much as possible to remove it from their environment.
All right, thank you. Thank you very much, Dr. Khadija. My audience, I want to come to you. Is anyone that has any questions or comment, observation you want to add to the conversation? All right, okay, please go ahead.
Okay, Assalamu alaikum to Allah. When Dr. Khadija, when she was discussing the last time, she said there should be rehabilitation centers for these people who are addicts. Now, the issue comes to this. You see these wealthy folks, they are actually the ones who actually get to these rehabilitation centers most times, and these poor people, they don't have access to this. So it means those centers they get to, actually funded ones, probably private institutions, and the government is not setting up something robust enough to cater for the need. Now, it comes to this ethical issue. Should there be, a fee for rehabilitation, or is society supposed to take it on as this is our responsibility and provide a robust system for these people?
Yeah, do you want to comment to that? Yeah, please.
So, basically, what you are saying is to some extent true, but to a large extent not really correct. So when you say that there are no enough rehabilitation centers, so do you know that Federal Neuropsychiatry Hospital, Yaba left, is a place you can get help? Like people can get help, not you. Do you know? You don't know. You only think it's for the madmen. So that's the thing. So we need to create more awareness.
Yes.
So people only feel that it's only somebody that is mad, like has gone haywire, that taken to those areas. No. Do you know that Arrow, Federal Neuropsychiatry Hospital in Abeokuta, is also a place where people can get psychiatric help, let me say it that way. There are also rehabilitation centers. And there are a lot and several rehabilitation centers around. In fact, the Lagos state government now is investing on, I think they want to build a federal, a state neuropsychiatry hospital around Ekpe or Ikorodu, a very large one actually, that will cater for a lot of people. So it's a public health concern that people are actually looking into. And when you say the wealthy ones are the ones that are really, really getting involved, that's not actually true. So you can just say that the levels at which they do it. Like I know that the wealthy ones, all they want to go into things like cocaine. They want to go into cocaine, harder drugs. Because of that is what they can access easily. But if you look at it in larger society, most times it's still you see, the socioeconomic condition of the country and the system itself is one of the things that pushes people into addiction. And some people tend to do this in order to have like either a sense of belonging or a kind of relief. So it's not outrightly true that it's the wealthy ones like that, but definitely there are a large number of people. For example, during COVID, I was actively involved in COVID, and I can tell you that was a time that a whole lot of people got addicted into, start abusing substances and led them to addiction because they were lonely in the house. There was nothing they could do. And there's a saying that says that the idle home is the devil's workshop. So when you are alone, that's when you start thinking about things. Let me just try this, let me just do this, let me just see it. And the major problem, actually, with all these rehabilitation programs that have been put in place to want to help the awareness, where do we spend most of our time in? Where? Social media. That is the real thing that should be tackled.
So, Dr. Shuaib, from what you've said now about the rich folks and the poor folks, I think what is missing here is about awareness.
Yes.
That there is not enough awareness to, the people that are not wealthy, that they need to, when they are in this kind of problems, they need to go to these rehabilitation programs, rehabilitation centers, and, get help. But from your own experience, how many, can you give us examples of rehabilitation programs that you've seen succeeded? And that is also, rehabilitation centers are medical in tuned. What help can the faith-based centers to help in solving this program? So two-phase questions.
Okay, so
what rehabilitation programs have you seen succeed in Nigeria, and and what can faith-based and medical interventions, can they go hand in hand to solve this problem?
Okay, so in reference to what Dr. Khadija said earlier on, whereby a lot of women, they get depressed, because women truly tend more to get into depression and probably anxiety as a result of hormonal changes, childbearing, societal pressure and all that. So you will find out that sometimes some women, what leads them to probably depression and all those things is probably they're in their house. Before they got married, they're all looking shapey, they are looking fine. That was why their husband married them. So probably after childbirth, due to probably systemic and physiological changes, maybe they now added weight. You will see that all these fitness farms, fitness homes, they are now selling very well.
Yeah.
So you see, the fitness center is a form of rehabilitation program, in case you don't know. Some people go into drugs just in order to increase their self-esteem, because some of them are even shy to go out. They'll be like, oh, my tummy is big, I'm adding weight, so I don't want to go. So they tend to want to use something in order to mask that effect of their shame, in quotes. So that's why you now notice that some of them now spend a lot of time going to rehabilitations like fitness centers. See, fitness center is a rehabilitation center, indirectly, in case you don't know. Now, you also have some clubs, organizations, and groups. You know, like she said, there's like a focus group discussions whereby people that have had experience or that were past addicts that are now, you know, creating things like maybe like a group so that they can be able to enlighten people in the community. Don't do this. This is the effect of what I did. There are even some religious homes. Maybe they'll go on streets. They'll be doing videos that, oh, we picked this boy up from the streets. We rehabilitated him and all that. And the guy is now doing well. So there are a lot of programs going on, even though within our own, like in space too. There are sometimes, even though like as AMSA students, there are some discussions we do have, like programs that we do invite guests to come in and tell us about, oh, these are the effects of abusing substances or getting addicted to them and all that. Then also now for the religious homes have a vital role to play. Now the truth is that the world is evolving and things are changing. So, and we as, let me say, the religious leaders need to put this into consideration when they are probably attending to cases like that. Because if I, as a person, for example, I need help, and like Missionary Sahaba said, and I go to a religious home that, oh, please, I need help, and I feel rejected, definitely I'll go and seek for that help somewhere else, and that is where the problem will arise. So I think it's something that has to do both with the individual, the society, the religious homes. You know, it's a multidisciplinary approach that we need to use to probably manage this public menace.
Yeah, thank you very much, Dr. Ibrahim, for that insight that you've been sharing with us. Now, on a final note, I'm starting with you, Mavi Khalik. Can you, if you see a drug addict today, what one powerful message can you tell that drug addict as a solution to his problem or her problem?
I'll simply say that you have the power to do everything, so you also have the power to conquer your problem. In that particular situation, it's just a matter of you taking some steps and you'll be able to overcome the problem.
Thank you very much, Mavi Khalik. What about you? What is your final message to a drug addict?
So when I say drug addict, I'll just tell him, you are not alone. You can still do it, and there is still much time for you to do it. So just keep working on yourself and speak out.
Thank you very much. Dr. Khadija, what is your final message to any drug addict you see? What's going to be your final message?
All right, so I would want them to know that they are not alone, because the effects of it as an effect, the acts of it as an effect on the society in general. So therefore, they are not alone and they are not defined by their struggles. They still have value in life to give. Addiction is a battle that is well known, but the recovery is possible. So you should try and reach out and ask for help. Their life matters more than they know. Nigeria needs them to be sober, to be strong and helpful.
Thank you.
You should try as much as possible to take the first step today, and their future will thank them.
Thank you very much. And their future will thank them. What a deep and necessary conversation we've had today. We've spoken about the triggers of addiction, the emotional pain many youth are silently carrying, and the ways our communities, including our mosque, must evolve to become places of healing, not just judgment. I want to sincerely thank Lieutenant Dr. Ibrahim Shoaib for coming to the program today. Thank you very much. Missionary Abdul Khalik Yusuf, thank you for coming. Dr. Khadija Yakin Abdulrazak, thank you for joining us virtually and for your continued commitment to community service. Thank you for joining. A very special thank you to our audience for contributing meaningfully and for contributing your insight and to this robust conversation we've had. And to our viewers listening at home, we appreciate you. We thank you for staying through with us today. For questions, comments, and observation, please reach out via africa@mta.tv. africa@mta.tv. We are here to listen. We are here to help. Remember, addiction is not the end of the story. With the right support, spiritual guidance, and compassion, recovery is possible. Until next time, I am Lamino Zafrullah, and this has been Real Talk Africa on Muslim Television Ahmadiyya. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.